Hi, this is Kane Hodder, Victor Crowley, Jason from Friday the 13th. You're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
Mm-hmm. And we are joined by the returning Brett DeJager of Bonejangles, and hopefully of the Bride of Bonjangles, which we'll be talking about. It's awesome to have you back here.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. It's been great. It's been great connecting with you guys so far this last half hour trying to get the show going. So.
Exactly.
We were pretending that never happened.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It'll be edited all out of the podcast. Yeah, perfect.
That's right. Had a glitch.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So last year when we had you on the show, Bonejangles had been finished, and but it wasn't released quite yet. So for this whole last year of people seeing your movie in Redbox, buying the DVD at Walmart, video on demand, what's that been like for you, for people to see your finished movie?
It's been awesome. You grow up as a child and you have a dream of being a filmmaker or a director or an actor, and then actually trying it out and seeing your actual movie in a Walmart is pretty surreal. I mean, we were taking photos of it, having people, Walmart employees take photos of it. We're like, hey, take a photo of me. It was really cool. So,
yeah. And what's been the reaction like for people who watched it?
You either love it or you hate it. I don't think there's really too much of an in between. I think it definitely has a style of humor that you either love or you hate. And I think that's been some getting used to, and on my part, just hearing like you either love it or I get like hate mail. Like, I can't believe you made this pile of crap. Who watches this?
Oh,
no. No, but it's all right. It's all good.
Yeah. For me, I think that's better than someone just being like, it's all right. Like, you're getting a reaction one way or the other.
Yeah, strong reaction's probably better than like a lukewarm thing from people.
Somebody literally on Instagram tagged me in a movie review that they did of Bonejangles, and all it was a clip of him cutting the DVD up with the scissors.
That's
a little different. I don't think I've seen that before.
It was like literally he cut it up with the scissors, and I just responded. I'm like, dude, you just cut up like $10 worth of a movie. Yeah. Like it's not. I'm not on any money.
Yeah, they already bought it, right? So,
yeah.
Give it to somebody. So, I always do think it's peculiar when people tag like someone in a really negative review, like.
Yeah.
Jason Mitten, who does our written reviews, I think he does a great job. I love his reviews. But I do, if he like really tears the movie apart, I always kind of like, I'm like, why did you tag the director in it or the actor?
Well, it's like you took the time you hated it that much where you actually cut it up with the scissors. Like, that's intense. That's pretty intense.
Yeah. And at Jason's defense, he's always fair even on movies he doesn't like. So that's cool.
Yeah.
When did the idea for doing a second one come about?
It was already planned before we shot the first one. So the idea is, we actually have Bonejangles 2 and 3. The scripts have been done for quite a while now. So we have a trilogy waiting to happen. The second one is, I just sent out the script to everybody involved, actors that we've casted and whatnot. And so the whole idea, we knew going into Bonejangles 1 that we wanted to do 2 and a 3 with the hope of filming 2 and 3 back to back. So 3 weeks of Bonejangles and then a week off, and then moving right into Bonejangles 3. Mm-hmm. So it's just now we're like, okay, so now Bonejangles, it's hit Walmart, so now we have money coming in. Now is the time to shoot Bonejangles 2 because all the actors are getting 1 year older. We're getting, 3 or 4 years out from the original, and the movie Bonejangles 2 takes place immediately right after Bonejangles 1. So we can't wait that long to shoot the sequel. So we're on a time crunch here.
Mm-hmm. And what was cool about the setup for the first Bonejangles is like he's already established character within this world. So like you can easily pop him into other stories, and you don't have to like do an origin because it's not really an origin movie, even though there's some of the like memories are there, and you can see kind of his origin. So, but it's a really original take on a slasher movie, I thought.
I mean, the idea is for Bonejangles 2 and 3 to be in like the same universe, but we could have a different storyline with different characters and everything else. So, but we feel like we really love the original cast. So bringing the original cast back for the sequel and the third one is the most, it's the top priority for me. I would not do a sequel without bringing the original cast back.
Mm-hmm. And it made me think of like other slasher movies. Like when you're watching Jason movies, and once you get past the first few, everyone should know that there is a Jason, because like he's been killing all these people for decades. So how can people not know of him every single time? They really only kind of reference that, I think, when Jason Goes to Hell, because then it's all set up to to capture and kill Jason. So I just thought it was original take, and it's fun,
Well, so with Bonejangles 2. Obviously Bonejangles comes back and he's coming after Doug and Sally and Randy, so he's trying to finish what he started in the original. And the sequel plays off a lot of like Halloween with Dr. Loomis and the whole storyline of him going after the same people. If he doesn't get him in the movie before that, he comes back, tries to finish up loose ends.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool. So how about the name Bride of Bonejangles? Is there a bride in the movie?
Well, you're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, the idea is the Bride of Bonejangles is... so when we shot the teaser, we ended up not showing like 80% of the teaser that we shot. But ultimately is that Bonejangles falls in love in the second one, and then it leads into the third one where maybe you a play on Chucky, Child's Play series. So we really start amping up the homages to the classics. So, Bride of Bonejangles obviously is a play on, Bride of Chucky. And then the third one, which I won't name the name of it yet, but that's also a play on, a very popular horror franchise too. So, but yeah, so there's definitely love in the air for Bonejangles and Bonejangles 2.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Bride of Frankenstein is a fantastic movie, but I always think the bride is very iconic, but she's only in it for like a minute in the movie. She really doesn't do anything. She just kind of shows up, screams, and then they all get killed.
Well, this one, Bonejangles 2, the main villain is a female and has a lot of screen time, is a very focal part of the movie, and then Bonejangles has more screen time on it as well. So there's no like zombie element to it really at all. We've completely moved away from that, and now we're bringing this new character on board who is another villain that Bonejangles that gets in the middle of Bonejangles' mission on killing, Doug and Sally and Randy.
Mm-hmm. So when you do like a horror comedy, I always think like the horror has to stand on its own for the movie to really work. Mm-hmm. And so when you're putting the movies together, do you have the same opinion on that?
The horror doesn't stand up on its own, I think. Like then the comedy aspect just kind of takes over, and it just kind of does away with like the whole vibe of the movie.
Yeah, I can hear you now. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a fine balance that we've that we're walking right here. We're walking a fine balance between moving away towards being too goofy, and then the horror element is completely gone. And then obviously, if people don't find it funny and there's no horror element, then it's just a trap. Then you're just a train wreck.
Oh yeah, yep.
But I think Keith Melcher, who wrote all three of them, is a phenomenal writer, and he really knows what he wanted to get out of the script. And as a director, having him play the title character and having him on set is actually really, really amazing, because if we get on set and I'm seeing something that's just not working, I can just say, hey, Keith, what if we rewrite it this way? What do you think? And then he'll be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Then he'll go back into his room with his computer, revise it and then reprint it for everybody. And then we're filming a new scene, half hour later. So, you're right.
Sweet then.
Yeah. So he brought a printer for the first one. We all lived in an elementary school that had been no longer being used or whatever. So we all lived in that for a month. And so Keith and I shared a room, which was just a classroom that had plywood up for walls. And it was perfect, because if we didn't see anything that worked comedy wise, or, with our budget, if we ran out of budget and we just couldn't pull something off like a practical effects or, with the locations, we needed a different location. Right. He could just go in and just change the script right there. So that was really nice having him on set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a dynamic that most people probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, and a lot of people I hear, don't have the writer on set because they get all mad if you're,
right, if you mess with the material.
Yeah. But Keith, having him on set is, because he also invested the most, he owns the most out of Bonejangles. So, he invested a lot of cash in there too. So having the executive producer, the title character, and the writer on set, it was actually kind of a unique dynamic that I don't think a lot of people ever experienced. Having your boss also be your actor, also be your writer. like, hey, Keith, I don't think this is going to work. You need to tone this derogatory language down. Okay, you're fired. So it worked out good.
Did you know him before Bonejangles? Were you guys friends?
No, not at all. I didn't know Keith until I got on the set to film the movie.
Oh wow.
So it was, I didn't know him at all. They hired me to direct the movie without even, he didn't know me, but he took the recommendation of Sean O'Connell, who was the cinematographer for Bonejangles, who also his studio edited the movie, but he recommended that to Keith that I direct Bonejangles, and that's how I ended up meeting Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that worked out really well then, because that could have been a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it could have been a nightmare. And Keith, our intent was, and Keith's super laid back, so he takes most of my recommendations with grace. That I'm like, oh hey, let's change this character's age because I really want this actor to play this role, and they'd be like, oh, I guess I could change it to a female who's 50 instead of a male that's 15. So he's really awesome to work with, and we've become really close, especially with this process of trying to get Bonejangles 2 to come to fruition. I think we're entering a stage of depression together right now, which at least I have somebody to go through this with. So,
so you have the Indiegogo campaign. I don't want to curse you at all, but if that doesn't work out, will there still be a Bride of Bonjangles?
So the Indiegogo campaign obviously would have been nice to have be successful, which it's not going to be. Let's be honest, it's just not. But we're seeking private funds, and and I'm 99% positive we're going to be able to secure those private funds through equity and investors. So I think it's, I've been working really hard on working with investors and putting those feelers out to see if there's investors out there that would want to go in on Bonejangles 2. And I think there's been a lot of positive things about that. And I think I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're really close to securing the funding that we need for it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
now, I don't know if you'd have the answer for this or not, but do you think that over the years that the crowdfunding for independent movies kind of fell off because of some established people seeking, like Rob Zombie, seeking crowdfunding, because people only have a finite amount of money they can give to anything.
I mean, you talk with, obviously we're half a month into our campaign. So we got 15 days left. We started with 15. It's just been a complete, utter failure to launch project. And I've talked with other filmmakers, and I've talked with just everybody that I can about the campaign. And it really does come down to crowdfunding fatigue. There's some things about our campaign that turn a lot of people off. Like, we're raising $80,000 fixed. And that's a ton of money in the crowdfunding world. But I try to be as transparent as possible and saying, hey, I can't ask you guys for $10,000 and then expect to come back with a movie.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. I can't make a movie for $10,000. And, and I, you just talk with people, there's crowdfunding fatigue, mixed with the fact that we're not filming for a year, that we're shooting for 80,000. It's a mixture of stuff for us, but there is, I think there's crowdfunding fatigue for sure.
Yeah. So you have a lot of very cool things here. So I assume if the crowdfunding thing doesn't work out, you would use those somewhere else, like the posters, VHS copies, and the stuff is still going to happen. And what might happen is, and I talked to Keith today about this, is that the crowdfunding that we have currently, the campaign, once that's done, is we're gonna start a new one, but for way less, and then probably doing like an in-demand section where people can still just pre-order like posters and action figures, like Bonejangles action figures, and maybe some masks and all that, that kind of stuff. And then that money coming in will still help fund the movie, but it won't be the sole source of funding Bonejangles 2. Yeah. So before we get back to Bonejangles 2, what were some of the stuff you worked on in between Bonejangles and Bonejangles 2?
Yeah, so I directed, mainly it was 2 projects. I directed a segment for the horror anthology 1031 by Rocky Gray, and a lot of other phenomenal directors did segments in that one. So that was an anthology that came out last October, and they're gearing up to release a Blu-ray version of that. So working with Rocky Gray was one of the coolest experiences for me, and he and I have become fairly close in terms of like just throwing ideas, bouncing ideas off each other's shoulders and seeing what's going on. The guy is just a master at everything he does. And then I directed a sequence for the other horror anthology, Cryptids, from the the creators of the creator of The Barn, and those guys are doing Cryptids. So I directed a segment for that. That's been done for quite a while. So I'm excited to see that being released. So those are the horror anthologies, that segments I directed. But other than that, it's taken me, believe it or not, it's taken me so long to get this Bonejangles 2 campaign off the ground. Just planning and stuff, and getting, reaching out to all the original actors and getting them to agree to come back. And, that's been taking up a lot of my time too. So, but yeah, if it doesn't work out, I have some projects that I'm going to be moving towards, maybe some smaller projects and whatnot, but I'd love to keep directing some projects here.
Yeah. Was everyone on board about doing another Bonjangles? The former cast?
Yeah. Everybody that I've asked has been on board to come back. Super excited. And I told them straight up that without the original cast, I would not do Bonejangles 2 or 3. It's for me, the cast is the reason why it's been as successful as it's been, and without the original cast, the core cast, there's no way that I would bring it back. So they've all been super excited. But the problem now is that they're all busy doing their stuff out in LA and overseas and stuff. So it's scheduling has been, and that's why we're doing it. The plan is to film it in July of 2019. So next summer is because everybody's been busy with their own projects and shows and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've seen like some interaction with you and other directors about, Bonejangles versus like different characters in their movies. Is that something you guys have talked about for fun, or is that anything you'd actually would do?
I would actually love to do it. I'm not a big like superhero like Marvel fan, or I don't pay attention to a lot of that stuff with like crossovers and like they're expanding universes and stuff. But when I watch movies from other directors, like I'll just throw it out, like, because I'm sure you've seen this one, like Knucklebones. Is a movie that shares a lot of similarities with Bonejangles, and so like PJ Starks and I kind of joke around that, hey, maybe I should direct like Knucklejangles or something like Bonejangles versus Knucklebones or something like a crossover. And why not? I think it'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. And then we could see Bonejangles in their card game too. I have to say their card game's a lot of fun for what's it, Tales of Blood? The card game's really well done.
Oh yeah, that card game's a ton of fun.
Troy and I have played it a lot. Volumes of Blood. I'm sorry, Volumes of Blood. Yeah, their card game.
Yeah, so we use that. I have a copy. I have an older copy of it. We use that. We actually had that in one of our in my segment for 1031. The kids in my segment at the beginning were playing Volumes of Blood.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a really fun game, and it's you could definitely expand and stick some other characters in there. Would totally work.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, the whole purpose of Bonejangles is to have fun. And we take our craft serious, but we don't take things too serious. Like we know where we stand. We know how the movie is presented to fans, and I think that's important to know that we're not going to take ourselves too seriously, but we take the craft of filmmaking very serious.
Mm-hmm. I think I have a small part in.
That's a good way to look at.
Yeah. I believe I have a small part in the cryptids segment.
You do. Well, I know. Yeah, it's been fantastic. You are. Well, I guess I can't give it away, but yeah, you do have a part in there.
Very cool. I'm looking
in my segment.
Very good. Very good.
I have not heard of this. I knew nothing of it.
I'll tell you.
Nasty Neil Jones.
So I had mentioned.
It's great.
I had mentioned. Jason Goes to Hell earlier, and I hadn't seen that really for a long time, and I watched it again because we had the director on the show, and I like it a lot more actually than I did as a kid. I think it's a very fun movie, and I'd see a lot of similarities with like your whole world in your movie. Is that a movie you liked? What are your thoughts on Jason Goes to Hell?
I'm a huge Jason Voorhees fan, especially the later ones. I mean, a lot of people. They crap on some of those classics that I consider them classics, but there's Jason Voorhees is probably one of the bigger inspirations that I take from when filming Bonejangles. Not just visually, aesthetically or whatever, but also a lot of the motivation and whatnot too. So maybe not directly from that movie per se, but the character itself.
Yeah, but there's something. The similarity I think is. It takes it like, all right, we've had all these Jason movies, so people in this world would have to know that Jason Voorhees exists. Because he's killed like hundreds of people by this point. Either people are just completely moronic and don't know, and so just like accepts that people are aware of this, and then it's like, well, how would they deal with it? And it's really like the beginning part when they're bringing in the tanks and all stuff. And I don't know. It's kind of like when I'm watching Bonejangles, it's kind of like this is a world that knows that this guy is there. And so it's like, how would they deal with it, knowing that like these monsters exist?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's kind of like very meta in itself. That how do you move forward when everybody knows that Bonejangles is like a supernatural serial killer?
Right.
So I mean, we definitely make it known in Bonejangles 2, like how we're going to play that off.
Mm-hmm.
So
what were some of your favorite Jason movies or any slasher movies?
It's kind of funny. I love Freddy versus Jason. I really do. I think that's just I think it's just a blast of a movie. I really enjoyed it. But then you go back to some of the original, the classics that I think of, like Scream. Wes Craven's Scream was a huge inspiration for me. House 1 and House 2, the original Halloween. And so for Bonejangles 2, it really plays heavily on the Halloween franchise. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like a parody of where they took that franchise. And I think it's going to be quite evident for horror fans to pick up on that. Mm-hmm. But it's not mocking it. It's just acknowledging that the timeline for the Halloween franchise is so jacked up. But they all kind of have their own purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, something I've always wanted to do. It's funny to me. I don't know if anyone else would find it funny, but if you did like a campfire, like telling of a horror franchise. So take Halloween, and you'd have to include every movie in the franchise and try to tell it in a story form, because it would just make no sense. It's like it's rebooting itself, and then a rapper shows up and beats up Michael Myers at one point.
You could do that. It'd be a funny short film, like a short horror film, like a parody.
Yeah.
That would be fun, Dale. That'd be like, John Houseman at the beginning of The Fog telling his story.
Right.
That would be perfect.
That would be cool.
And I don't know why there's no direct. They're always doing a direct sequel to the first movie and skipping all of them. But why is there no direct sequel to Part 6? I don't have a payoff to the storyline and the old direct-to-VHS editions of Halloween. That's what
That's funny.
Yeah, or a direct sequel to Part 3. There's no.
You could do that.
Yeah, we're just gonna skip.
They can do that anytime, though.
And it's gonna be about mass. Yeah, piss everybody off.
I'd be behind that too.
Yeah, I would like it. It's weird because when I was a kid, everyone hated Part 3. Now I think it's almost gone full circle where like everyone loves it.
I've always loved Part 3.
Yeah. It's just
I think it's great.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking a sip of my tea here. So, how did you get involved in the anthologies?
Well, without basically, Bonejangles allowed me to really kind of connect and leverage a lot more than I could have without Bonejangles. Mm-hmm. So using that leverage, I kind of strong-armed my way into those anthologies. Just kind of hey, I really want to direct a segment in this anthology. I directed Bonejangles. It's fucking awesome. You'll love it. And I paid him a lot of money to do it. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't pay. But no, you just kind of use reverse psychology and you kind of manipulate them into thinking that you're a really great director, and then they allow you to direct a segment in their anthology.
Well, it worked. I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
I always
However it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I always loved anthologies as a kid, and I'm glad that they've come back because over the last few years, there's been a lot of them. I loved Creepshow was my favorite movie as a kid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you can film them so cheap. You can film an anthology, like a 5-segment anthology for like $10,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what's
but that's just awesome though, because that's as far as any resurgence goes, that's been my favorite over the last 10 years, however long it's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's cool with
and with that, you don't need to. No, you go ahead.
What I was going to say was these ones where it's multiple directors. It's really cool because sometimes you'll watch them and you'll be like, well, I really like this one, and then you kind of seek out their other work, from the short and within the anthology.
I'm kind of. You make a good point. I'm wondering now if people watch my segment in 1031, and that's why nobody's pledging to our Indiegogo campaign for Bonejangles 2.
I wasn't ready for that response.
Did you ever see Tales from Halloween? Well, that was actually one of my favorite recent anthologies, because I was thinking really the end of that is kind of a sequel to Halloween Part 3 with the mask, because there's the music and there's the references to the building and everything.
Yeah, that's obviously one of the more acclaimed anthologies in the past 6 years, 7 years, I guess. So yeah, it's a good anthology. A lot of great people involved with that. Yeah. But you're going to see, from my conversations with other filmmakers, you're going to see a lot more anthologies coming out in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome! I can never get enough.
Yeah, you're definitely from some really phenomenal up and coming directors. You're going to see some really cool anthologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes me excited. I really enjoy them. They're fun.
Oh yeah. Well, they always kind of bring me back to the old days of the EC comics and stuff, and it just makes me smile.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, where are you filming Bride of Bonejangles?
Well, location, probably in the Midwest. Location hasn't been determined yet, because the majority of it takes place in a hospital, like an abandoned hospital. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be reaching out to some contacts and trying to find some vacant hospitals to be able to film in. So, when I think of Bonejangles 2, I always get the feeling of, I really like The Void, the horror movie The Void, where they filmed it in the hospital. And then obviously you have Halloween 2 with a hospital. And so Bride of Bonjangles, a lot of it takes place in a hospital. So, I'm willing to film it in whatever state allows me to find a hospital within my budget.
Mm-hmm. Is Part 3 going to be in 3D?
Oh yeah.
All right, we can shoot it there.
Yeah. Even if
virtual reality, we'll just shoot it in virtual.
Even if it's not 3D, my idea for a third horror movie was always to film it like it's supposed to be in 3D. So people just poke stuff at the screen for no reason, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be very funny to me.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And 10 people would get it. The rest of the people would be like, "What the hell is this?" But for a very small audience, it'd be very funny.
Yeah, so Bonejangles could just throw an prop axe right at the camera, right. Just hit the camera and just so random.
Yeah, there's a shish kebab.
Somebody waving an eye. Yeah, everything like that.
Yeah.
That'd be... Jeez, you guys are full of great ideas. I'm going to steal them all and get sued.
Excellent.
We have it all on tape here. It's all recorded.
Guys, you should see me right now. I'm drinking a nice Basil Hayden whiskey sitting in a bathroom. So
nice.
I think I can see. Well, no, I can't. I see a window.
Oh. Do I have my video on?
Yeah. I just see the top of your head at a window.
No kidding. I have my video on.
Yeah.
Can you see?
Yeah, I see.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy. I didn't know my video was on. That's great. Now I'm really trying to figure out what I've been doing the past 20, 30 minutes.
I just wish I was able to record it.
No.
Black material. What are you drinking again? Sounds good.
Some Basil Hayden's. It's one of my favorite whiskeys.
I went on the bourbon tour. Maybe it was last year. I think it was last year in Kentucky, and so you'd go to all the different distilleries. Yeah, it was a good time. And they actually have I forget what the term is, but it's for the smaller batches of whiskey. It's like the craft tour.
Yeah,
which we might do next time.
Yeah,
when you hit all the smaller ones.
Well, now I should probably forward this podcast, this interview with Basil Hayden to see if they'll maybe sponsor or do a product placement for Bonejangles too.
That's very good.
Oh,
good idea.
Do it.
And I'll just, every movie I direct, I'll just be holding a Basil Hayden. I'll just be drinking a Basil Hayden. Drunk. Every movie.
That work.
So just like all your other movies, right?
Yep. For sure.
Mm-hmm. Is that a bourbon or is it just a whiskey? I know there is differences.
It's like a rye whiskey. Okay. Like a whiskey bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
I don't know.
I'm a big fan of the rye. I like the rye.
The rye is my favorite. I've come to realize that the rye is my favorite.
Yeah, I'm more of a bourbon man, but I do like any of them. I'm looking up Basil Hayden.
You're a bourbon elitist. Just admit it.
Yeah.
This is going to drive a wedge in our family because I'm more of a rye man.
Yeah.
He's a straight up bourbon man.
Yeah, Neil, you need help.
Bourbon snob.
Now it's coming. Oh, look at this. This looks good. Now I see how to make a Basil Hayden mint julep. Well, that sounds like a good drink.
Yeah. I'm going to do that after I do this interview. So, are you okay?
Yeah. I don't know what Troy. I think Troy was just dying there for a minute.
Neil's probably over there eating a lobster sandwich.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Frickin' eating lobster. He sends me pictures of him basking in lobster juice, and it just makes me super jealous.
He goes out and checks the lobster tree, see if any of them are ripe today.
I could go for a
you guys are who?
Yeah. So we didn't mention this. Where can you find the Bonejangles Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, so Bonejangles 2, obviously go to Indiegogo. You can type in Bonejangles 2. It'll get you there. Otherwise, igg.me / or dash, I don't even know what they're called, at Bonejangles 2. But probably the best bet is to either follow me on Facebook or the Bonejangles page because we post like 50 times a day. But back on that subject, it's a sore subject. Just because I guess I overestimated the desire for fans to need a Bonejangles 2. So. But, like I said, we talked about this. There's a lot of factors going into it. And I'm 99% positive Bonejangles 2 is going to happen even without the Indiegogo campaign. We're securing private funding for it. So I think we're well on our way to making Bonejangles 2. So I think that's the route we're going to take. So
cool. And I love this. It's a poster you posted on your Facebook page. And I guess you said it was like the alternative poster, or limited release poster.
Oh, for the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was one of my favorite posters we did. We sold it at our premiere for Bonejangles, and I still have a few copies left of those, but of just a few, I guess. But yeah, no, that was a really cool alternative poster that we had for it.
I like the Bonejangles 2 poster, too, here. Do you do the graphics, or who does the graphics?
Rocky Gray actually designed the Bonejangles 2 poster, the main poster. So Rocky Gray gets all the credit for that. The guy, like I said, the guy can do everything. So, he's been a huge supporter of Bonejangles, and Bonejangles 2. And so he's been helping me out. Like everything else though, it's just kind of been me, just kind of a one-man band, posting and whatnot. Each night I just come up with a whole bunch of posts and I just put them on like an auto scheduler. So they just pump out, at random times throughout the next few days.
I'll have to look into that. Huh.
Yeah, I use a website called Hootsuite. So it has every one of my social media accounts linked into one. So I post using their dashboard, and then it posts to every single one of my social media accounts, and then I can track everything, analytics and everything, clicks, and I can do referrals and all that. I can track referrals, and it does everything.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it the same mask? Because the graphics are a little different, but I can't. It's more orange in the first one, and a lot more blues in the second poster.
Yeah, so the mask for the poster is the same as the original, but everything is going to be different in the second one. So the actual movie, his costume is actually, his wardrobe is different, and his mask will be different as well. Because in essence so he, without any spoilers in case somebody hasn't seen the first one, he basically comes back from hell in the second one. So he's definitely more ragged, and he looks different in the second one.
Mm-hmm. I like it. So when did you start watching horror movies? How old were you?
Well, I always credit it to my mom, because my mom loved the classics, like the really, really cheesy B-movie classics or whatever. But I got hooked on it watching Tales from the Crypt. And that, when I was a little kid, my mom would make me cover my eyes whenever there was nudity or whatever. But then, that I could watch everything else, I guess. But that's what really, really hooked me was Tales from the Crypt, and reading the Goosebump books was, probably even at an earlier age. I've always been fascinated by Halloween, and I guess they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. What do you do for Halloween? Do you dress up as Bonejangles or anything?
No. When I when I lived in Minnesota, we always had huge Halloween parties. Like every Halloween, we'd have huge Halloween parties. I'd go all out. The whole house would be decorated and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But since I moved to Wisconsin, I don't really know anybody up here yet. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't been able to fully celebrate Halloween like I have been in the past. Plus, I have a 2-year-old daughter now, so I kind of got to tame things down around the house.
Mm-hmm. Is she
so I don't terrify her.
Yeah. Is she into Halloween yet, or is she too young?
She watches like Vampirina and like Disney Junior, and I'm always so proud of her when she watches like Ghost Patrol on Netflix, like shows like that. She'll watch because she gets excited about like the floating ghosts and stuff, but she gets scared.
Yeah. So. Did your mom see Bonejangles?
Yeah. We actually premiered it in my hometown at the drive-in on Halloween night.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so we filled the whole drive-in theater on Halloween night in my hometown. And my mom was there, and my dad was there, and my whole family was there. But yeah, so my mom has definitely kept up to date with all of my filmmaking endeavors.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if Reggie Bannister saw the finished movie?
Has Reggie Bannister seen the finished movie?
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. I've had numerous conversations with them since the movie has released, and he so I guess I don't know for sure what he thought of it. That's a good question.
But he's been supportive.
They've been really supportive. Reggie and Gigi, they're fantastic people. They're very supportive. They're just very, very busy doing their own thing too. So, but yeah, so they've been really supportive of it. But now it'd be interesting to see what he thought of it. I guess I've never flat out asked anybody what they thought of it. I kind of let them kind of tell me in their own way.
True. Will we see Reggie Bannister? Any flashbacks to Reggie's character in the Bride?
Well, it would be the plan is to have Reggie Bannister come back. I can't make any promises if he is going to take on his role. But we'd love to have him back.
Yeah, Reggie's great. I think Reggie Bannister, his character, and Ash in the Evil Dead movies, Reggie in the Phantasm movies, are the only heroes that are in all the whole movies. Like all the other horror franchises are all based around the villain, and there might be a hero that's in a couple, but none of them is the hero throughout all the films.
Well, yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Even in the Halloween franchise, they end up switching all that up. But you're totally right. So, Reggie Bannister is an absolute legend, cult icon in the horror film, community. So, obviously, I'm going to do everything in my power to bring Reggie back for the sequel and the third one. It's very challenging. Because I am, just one person. So I'm trying to do everything, scheduling and financing and casting and marketing and, all of that. And it just kind of, you can only do so much while you're also working a full-time job too.
Mm-hmm. Which part of that is the most fun for you? The actual directing part?
Well, yeah. The directing part is absolutely really fun, but I really enjoy the pre-production part, the planning, the casting. For me, I cast a little differently. I don't do auditions at all. I don't really care for auditions. I don't look at really any demo reels or anything like that. I look at, do you fit the criteria of the image I have in my head of the character first, and then I'll go back and actually watch movies that these people have been in. And then if I like them in those movies, then I'll cast them. For me, people might audition really, really good or really, really well. And then they get on set and they're, they don't match that, what they did, in the audition. So for me, I would prefer to look at previous work.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Halloween a couple times. Are you looking forward to the new Halloween?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Danny McBride, at first I was like, having him on board like a horror franchise, as legendary as Halloween is, I was a little bit shocked that he was on board, but for me, Danny McBride is a genius in his own right. And so I think, with John Carpenter being back and all the, the original character, I think it's going to be okay. And I think it's going to be good. I just hope it's not watered down too much.
Yeah, I liked the trailer. I thought it was really interesting. And I listened to a Danny McBride interview. I think it was WTF with Mark Maron, and it was way before he signed on to do Halloween. And in that interview, he talked about originally wanting to make horror movies and dramatic movies, and he just kind of accidentally fell into comedy. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that about him. So it made me think, because I do think he's a genius too. I love everything he does. But I don't know how he'd fit in with a horror movie. But after I heard that, I was like, oh, well, maybe this is something he really wants to do. It's not just no,
absolutely.
I want to do a horror movie today.
I don't think that he would put out anything that fans would not like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he'd attach his name to something. It'll be junk.
Yeah.
And Blumhouse does a lot of stuff. I feel like they're being attached to everything, and you know, whether that's a good thing or not, it's I have faith that they know what made the original Halloween successful, and I think they're going to truly try to go back to those roots. And if anybody can go back to those glory days, I think it's them.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, it has me excited.
Well, we can. This is our shot.
Yep.
Any other recent horror movies that you've liked? Or are you looking forward to?
Recent horror movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I just been kind of like I've been watching more stuff on God, what is it, 43 Meters Down? I'm so late to the whole. I'm so late to these movies. Like I don't get to any. I live in a super small town in the middle of nowhere. There's like 1,000 people in the town I live in, and so I don't get to movies that often. I don't rent movies really at all. So I get to watch movies after they're like a year or two old. You know, but obviously I really enjoy like the Sinister franchise and the Conjuring franchise, you know, all that kind of stuff. I like those. I think they're good. They're good movies. You know, I'm looking forward to like Mandy, I guess.
Yeah,
I just saw the trailer for that with
Nicolas Cage.
But I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. Yeah, I think he's like I don't know, something about him. I've always been a super big fan of him, and I think it's funny that people think he's like a time traveling vampire or something. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. This kind of to me looked like kind of like a comeback movie for him though. Like it looked really good. I was like, wow, this looks cool. This looks wild.
Oh yeah.
I'm really
for sure.
Yeah. You know, speaking of small towns, I live in a town called Sandwich. It's not exactly, you know, Metropolis here.
The town is called Sandwich?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Like an actual like a lobster sandwich?
Exactly. And I've been tagged in this meme like 100 times, and I know everyone thinks it's hilarious, and it was funny the first time I saw it. It's an actual police car from here, so it says Sandwich Police on the side. And so anytime anyone sees this, they tag me because I know from Sandwich. And,
they go berserk then, and then it's always, you know, that hoagie doesn't look right to me, you know, pull over, buddy, that kind of stuff.
That's hilarious.
So the first time I saw it, it was funny.
Neil
but, you know.
Street.
Yeah, well,
Neil, your street is Campbell Street,
right,
so that's like the soup and sandwich.
That's an actual thing I say. Like if I'm online ordering something or whatever, and I tell them like if they don't like how I spell Campbell, and I was like, oh, it's like the soup, you know, soup and sandwich is my go-to joke. And then
Neil, speaking of this, you know, this might be my last opportunity to ever be on this show? Because are you done? I mean, you might not. You don't have to admit it, but is this show done after this season, or are you going to continue on with this?
Oh no,
without your head.
Yeah, we'll definitely continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Or at least he's not telling me yet. He's just gonna, you know, he's gonna leave me stranded after.
Well, I'll say this: you're
fired.
The last year there was a lot of drama that came from the show. The people involved in that drama, I don't want to go into too much detail. The people involved in that drama are all gone from the show, and so it's I have a much better experience now.
So how does this work out? You know, this is my second time on the show, and everybody that the other guests that have been on the show supposedly with me have all just disappeared. They've all just not shown up.
Well, who was supposed to be on last time?
You're the sole survivor.
Well, isn't like the what's her name? The lady that directed the ice cream truck or something.
Oh no, she was on.
No, was she?
Yeah.
I don't remember talking.
No, well, what happened was...
Are you sure?
What happened was I actually already recorded the interview, and I pretended it was live, so you didn't have any interaction with her because it was already recorded, and I just pretended it
so
was
you tricked me. You tricked me to make me feel good.
Exactly.
Sneaky bastard.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've always had my back. I appreciate that, Neil.
Oh, yeah. No, you're a good guy. I enjoy the Bonjangles movie. But outside that, I think you're a good guy, and you're funny. And listen, you use my voice.
The Bonjangles.
I mean, what the hell?
The Bonjangles franchise, there's going to be 3 of them. So horror fans just might as well just get on board with them because they're going to freaking happen. So give me all your money right now so I can just make the second one back to back with the third one, and then we can live in glory for the rest of our lives.
Exactly. It's like Matrix. They did it with the Matrix, I believe. They filmed 2 and 3. That's not a good example because those movies aren't very good, the second and the third one. But the idea is there.
The first one was pretty good.
Oh yeah, the first one's very good. The second, third, they happen though. They did happen.
Yeah.
Guys, if I just disappear right during this conversation, it's because my phone's at 7%.
All right, we'll wrap it up here.
Doing an interview in a bathroom is just kind of eating my battery up. I don't know why.
Next time we'll all be in the bathroom.
Chalk that up
Maybe
to
not all
experience.
together.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe we'll be
I'm
all
not
together. I don't know. We'll do a video.
I'm not on the toilet or anything. I'm sitting on the counter.
This is a true
Come
story.
on, don't ruin the magic now.
True story. At least 2 times that I know of. It could have happened other times I didn't know. That 2 guests used the bathroom while they were on the air.
That's fantastic.
You could hear them, one of them was drunk off his ass, and he progressively got more drunk because he was just drinking straight vodka, and then he just heard the I was like, are you taking it? And he's like, yeah, and I was like, okay, whatever. And the other guy just said it. He was like, I gotta go. He was an older man, and he said he had to go use the bathroom. It's like we could go to
have
break.
Anybody puke on the air during an interview? Did you, Neil?
I don't believe so.
All right.
I think no.
That's fantastic.
I did have a co-host who puked on the air once.
Did you?
Yeah, Buck Winchester.
That's a different one.
Yeah, who's no longer.
Hey, you know what, Neil?
Uh-huh.
And be on the lookout. We have a huge casting announcement coming. It's going to be an exclusive casting announcement. I'm not allowed to say it until we hired October Coast to handle the PR for the campaign late in the game. So the fact that the campaign is a failure is not their fault. But we'll be making a huge casting announcement for Bonejangles 2 in the next couple days. I was hoping for today, but in the next couple days, it's going to be, it's definitely going to be one of the coolest experiences that I'll ever have as a director. Beyond excited. So anybody that's into like cult movies, not necessarily horror movies, will really, really enjoy this casting announcement. So we got big things going on. Even though the campaign doesn't reflect it, we're still moving forward. A lot of things are in place, getting into place, and we got big things going on for the movie. So
awesome.
That's awesome. That. Yeah, I know. I'm intrigued now.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's I could not sleep at all last night. Literally, I'm a really good sleeper, and normally I sleep, throughout the night, but I take that back. My wife will yell at me if I lie. I'm a horrible sleeper. I sleepwalk and I sleep talk all the time. But last night I didn't sleep well because I was so freaking excited about it.
Yeah. That and plus you were coming back on Without Your Head. You're talking to a nasty.
Well, I mean that's obviously the big reason why I didn't sleep. But but I sleepwalk to something fierce. To where I almost died a few times. I had to go to the ER room because I jumped out a second story window and it cut my jugular and all that stuff. So yeah, it's real.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
So don't ever stay like in the top 13th floor or something. You'll be just jumping out.
Yeah,
windows.
because I see ghosts. I see dead people in the middle of the night that talk to me. It's crazy.
Really?
Wow.
They're not real though.
Are you sure you're not like in an asylum now instead of a bathroom?
Well, maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Don't jump out that window, by the way. The window.
I won't. I promise. I promise I won't.
All right. Very good. And if you need a nasty Neil or terrible Troy cameo in Bonejangles 2, I'm totally down.
You got it.
Just let us know.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Just some guy standing there.
Well, guys, my phone is at 5%. I'm a little worried that it's going to cut you guys off.
Right. Well, we had a good time, and we'll have you back if you'd like to come back at some point.
I will. you know what? I'm going to come back because we're going to have to talk about Bonejangles 3 because Bonejangles 2 will have been such a big hit.
Exactly.
Ooh, I'm liking that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss Bonejangles 2. The script is phenomenal. The original cast is coming back. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to it. Not just because you're here, not just because you're in a bathroom, and not just because you're drinking rye whiskey. I don't know what has to do with anything, but I'm looking forward to part 2, and I'm looking forward to whatever you put out. No, but I'm really looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the first one. I had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely put out, so I appreciate that, guys.
Very cool. All right, we'll let you go before...
Well, thank you so much.
You just die, I guess. All right.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys have a good time.
You as well.
All right, you too. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
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 All right.